Hello, I'm Dango Rose. Welcome to the Mountaineer Podcast, where everybody's listening. The Mountaineer brings you the latest news of the Peak to Peak region, in print, online, through our podcast, social media, and special publications. Now, listen in to the latest news of the area with our local journalists.
Hello there, everyone. Welcome to Music of the Mountains, where to be and what to see, brought to you by the Mountaineer Podcast. Today, I'm bringing on Keith Murdock, guitarist, songwriter, harmonica player, and dobro player of the band Orchard Creek Band. He'll be performing at Howlin Brewing in Rollinsville very soon, so stay tuned to learn more about the band. Submissions are currently open for the Youth Art Contest presented by the Mountaineer. Submissions are due by March 31st. The contest opens on April 9th, and the winners will be announced in the April 23rd edition of the Mountaineer. Be sure to head to the link in the description below to enter the contest today. The Youth Art Contest. Your vision, your voice, your art. Creativity starts with you. In Music of the Mountains, we want to make sure we keep you up to date with all of the great music events in the Peak to Peak area, and that includes music events from this week's sponsor, Eldora Mountain Resort. Skip the epic traffic on I-70 and head to Eldora for good vibes all season long. Eldora is your go-to spot for non-stop winter fun, with great local skiing and riding, plus slopeside DJs and the App Race Music Series. Don't miss the Full Moon Ski Tour, the Timbers Rail Jam, or the Morning Uphill Grind. Get all the details and check out weekly events at eldora.com. See you on the mountain! And now, for this week's interview.
All right. Do you mind just introducing yourself real quick?
Sure, I'm Keith Murdock, and I play in the Orchard Creek Band, and we'll be playing at Howlin Wind on March 28th, and I live in Boulder. I play dobro.
Sweet. Yeah, and okay, yeah, Orchard Creek Band's coming to Howlin Wind very soon. How did the band kind of start, you know? How long have you guys been playing as a band in the Colorado music scene?
Well, this band started about 6 years ago, but the current formation started about a year ago. And we started, there's a lot of jams in Boulder and Boulder County, and so you meet people, and I think that's how every band around here starts, bluegrass band. They meet at a bluegrass jam and get to know each other over a few weeks, and then they start a band. And we did, and made some progress, and we played the Midwinter Bluegrass Festival twice, and we played the High Mountain Hay Fever Bluegrass Festival in West Cliff, Colorado, a bunch of times. Well, I was in another band, bluegrass band, before Orchard Creek called the Steel Pennies, and we also played at the High Mountain Hay Fever Festival. I just met this, it was kind of funny. I reached out to this one lady and said, should we start a band? She said yes, and I have a couple more people, and they came, and then the original lady said, no, I don't want to do it. So we kept going with the others, and it worked out.
Sweet. And what about you specifically, Keith? How did you get started in music in general and particularly performing here?
Well, I started taking guitar lessons when I was 11. And in the 80s, I played in punk rock bands, and I went to music school at University of Colorado at Denver, UCD, and got pretty good on guitar. And we started a band back then, a punk band called the Transistors. And we opened for the Talking Heads in Denver and some other bands, national bands. And that band, after so many years broke up. And then I played in a bunch of country bands around Denver and playing guitar, mostly electric guitar. And maybe 10 years ago, we go to the Episcopal Church, and they needed somebody to play guitar for one of their evening services, and I volunteered. And I was looking for gospel-ish songs, and I found all these bluegrass songs that are gospel, because bluegrass comes out of the Baptist tradition, the primitive Baptists. and they have all these awesome songs, and I started playing them and learning about bluegrass bands, the Stanley Brothers and Flatt and Scruggs, the Louvin Brothers, and Johnny Cash did some gospel-y stuff, and so I'd play that at night at church, and I decided I wanted to have a band that did bluegrass all the time, so that's how I got into bluegrass.
Sweet. And I assume that bluegrass is kind of the styles that you've leaned more toward in terms of playing and also potentially just musical preference in general?
I think so. Yeah, I love bluegrass, and I love the traditional bluegrass. I'm not very much of a jamgrass performer, but I love the traditional stuff, and I write songs, and I try to kind of emulate some of the traditional sounds when I put those songs together. We also play country, as I played so much country, especially in the 70s, and loved Merle Haggard and Buck Owens, and I'm also a big Hank Williams fan, and so we do some of that too as well, not just straight bluegrass. So I'd say we do bluegrass, classic country, and originals.
Sweet. And I'm curious if there's potentially, it might not necessarily have this off the top of your head, but I'm very curious because we have an alternate section in new publication called the Caribou Current. And I'm wondering if there are a few albums just in general that were part of what inspired your sound in music, your preferences in music, all that kind of stuff.
Let me think. Well, I'm having a little trouble thinking of album names, especially in this day of Spotify, because I can just go and look up an artist name, see every album they did, and listen to a few songs from every album. And I'd have to say that the Stanley Brothers were a very big influence on what I love, and the singing of Ralph Stanley in particular, Ralph and Carter Stanley, but Carter died in the 60s. Ralph just died like a year or two ago. I've seen him play twice, at least once at the Boulder Theater a couple of years ago. So they were a big influence on me. I also love Flatt and Scruggs. And of course, one of their biggest songs was Foggy Mountain Breakdown, which was in the movie Bonnie and Clyde. And I also loved Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? I guess you could say that was an influential album. But a lot of the stuff on that is Ralph Stanley.
Gotcha. And yeah, in songwriting as well. For the band in particular, is there a primary songwriter? Do you guys work together on songwriting? Like, how does the process work for you guys?
Well, for me right now, I'm the only songwriter. The other two guys that'll be playing with me at the Howlin Wind don't sing. But one of them, John Sherman, is a songwriter, and he has some good songs, but he doesn't really like to sing, and he has said he intends to get good at singing. He's so good on mandolin and guitar. I mean, probably one of the top pickers in the area that I can understand. He said, I'm not as good at singing as I am at playing, so I'm hesitant to sing. But he is a good songwriter, and I think his singing sounds fine.
And for you, what has stuck out to you about songwriting over the years as you've gotten more experience in doing it and as you've been able to share these songs with these groups?
I was in a band, I mentioned the Transistors. We did all originals. And another guy in the band wrote all the songs except for two that I co-wrote. And I just realized that there's a thrill with not only getting your song out to where I love it, but playing it for others and find out that they love it. It's just a very satisfying goal and achievement.
Absolutely. For you, what's been rewarding as well about performing live, sharing all these songs with an audience, being able to perform with a group like this, all that?
I guess it's a lot of similarity. I love to rehearse and hear how good it sounds and work on the sound until bugs are out and enhancements are in. So it sounds great. Can't wait to get out and play it for people. And then playing it out and finding out that people do respond and love it and enjoy it. Very rewarding.
Sweet. And is there anything in particular that you hope people will be able to take away from the music you write or perform when they come to see you guys, or just anything that you hope people will take away from you guys as a band?
Well, if they could remember, if something made a big enough impact on them that they remember it. One time I played in Keystone with the Steel Pennies at a festival, and afterwards this couple came up to our booth. You know, we sell merch from a table after the concert, and people came up and said, "Oh, we loved your song about South Dakota." Well, the song was about North Dakota, but I didn't mind. It was one I wrote, and I enjoyed the fact that they knew it hadn't just gone in one ear and out the other. So if it could be remembered and noted, that's great.
Absolutely. And yeah, are there just any projects in general that you guys are working on at the moment? Is the Howlin performance part of a jump around at different shows? Like what's happening for the band currently?
Well, we're playing at the Old Mine in Erie this Wednesday at 6. We're playing at Niwot Wheelhouse next Saturday at 7. We're playing at Nieces on March 26th at 7. And then at Howlin Wind on the 28th at 4. We have more concerts. We're playing at the St. Julian Hotel in Boulder on April 11th at 6. Let's see, we're playing at the Dickens Opera House April 25th at 6 p.m. And we have other stuff coming up. In May and June, I've got stuff on the books, and I work every day trying to book stuff because you have to kind of try and get it a few months out, or else people are all booked up.
Sweet. And yeah, I don't know. Is there anything else about the band or upcoming things, or just, I don't know, anything else in general that you want to make sure people know or that you want to add?
Well, trying to think of the guy's name, the Cajun guy. They call him the Ragin' Cajun. I can never remember his name, but John, the mandolin player, toured with him. Let's see, what's his name? Oh, Doug Kershaw, Kershaw. He had a hit with Louisiana Man and Diggy Liggy Low. In the 70s, he was huge, and the 80s. So John Sherman toured with him. That's a kind of a cool feature. And this guy we have on bass, his name is Jay Allen, and he plays stand-up bass, and he's one of the top players that you hear at all the jams, and he played with some of the local club heroes around the Boulder area for years. He can play complicated stuff and has a great bottom end. And I play guitar and harmonica and dobro, which, if people don't know, is like a steel guitar, an acoustic steel guitar that some guys sit down and play, but you play it face up with a slide. And I'll be playing that. And when I play guitar, I use a Bob Dylan harmonica holder so I can play both at once. And that's fun.
Sweet. Yeah, I don't know. I think those are the big questions that I have on my end.
Great. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to talk about the band.
Thank you so much to Keith for coming on board and joining us for the podcast. You can see Orchard Creek Band performing live at Howlin Wind Brewing and Blending, located at 51A Main Street in Rollinsville, on Saturday, March 28th, 2026, starting at 4 p.m. To learn more about the band, be sure to visit their website at orchardcreekband.com. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Music of the Mountains, Where to Be and What to See, brought to you by the Mountain Ear Podcast. I'm Jamie Lammers, and I've been your host for this episode. If you have any questions or suggestions for anybody on the Mountain Ear Podcast team or the Mountain Ear newspaper team, then be sure to reach out to me at media@themountaineer.com, my co-host Tyler Hickman at tyler@themountaineer.com, our editor-in-chief Barbara Hardt at info@themountaineer.com, or general inquiries at frontdesk@themountaineer.com. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast wherever you get your podcast and keep an ear out for more episodes coming very soon. And if you want to support local journalism efforts in the Peak to Peak area, be sure to subscribe to the Mountain Ear today. You can head to our website at themtnear.com and click on the subscribe button in the top right corner of our homepage to get physical and digital access to our newspaper, and to send a physical subscription to your mailbox or to the mailbox of someone that you love. Be sure to share these episodes around with whoever you see fit. And we'll see you next time on the Mountain Ear Podcast. Have a great rest of your day.
Ronnie be the outlaw, never followed rules. Anything not tied down is there for his own use. From South Carolina in an old red Pontiac.
The song that you are currently listening to is called Ronnie B. the Outlaw. It's performed by Keith Murdock and co-written by him and his friend Eli. Be sure to check out more of Keith Murdock's songs by finding him on SoundCloud. He'll be performing as part of Orchard Creek Band at Howlin, Brewing and Blending on Saturday, March 28th, 2026, starting at 4 p.m. Be sure to head to 51A Main Street in Rollinsville to see the band performing live. And be sure to learn more about the group by heading to orchardcreekband.com.
I was out of rehab, making up lost time, searching nosy bar rooms, a sweetheart to make mine. I found him at the table with Q behind the line, dime on the 5-ball and a quarter on the 9. He'd give his last $5, times if I was broke, generous and helpful.
And that's it for our show. Subscribe online to get more access to more news, weekly updates to our community calendar, and a link to our YouTube channel by visiting themountaineer.com. Be sure to use the coupon code PODCAST when subscribing for a 10% discount, only available to our listeners. If you are in the local Peak to Peak area, be sure to pick up a print edition of The Mountaineer at a local business. I'm Dango Rose. Thank you for listening.